Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha, along with David Bailey. As you can see, we have rain falling. The track is bound to be muddy, and that's sure to affect our competition. David?
Definitely. The guys that typically run out front, the Lamsons, the Pichones, those guys don't necessarily ride that well in the mud. You can see the rain falling on the, as you look at Jeff Stand there packing the starting spot for Steve Lamson. The dirt you're looking at right there is perfect, but as the rain continues to fall, especially in the harder packed sections, it's going to get slick.
Now here's a development. Black #1 plate of national champion Steve Lamson is having some tires changed.
And it looks like they're changing the front tire, Bob. And typically you would change the rear, try to get more traction in this rain, but with all the off cameras, it's important for that front tire to hook up. There's Tim Ferry. He knows it's going to get tough to see out there after about a half hour.
Ferry, the defending 125 champion here at Mount Morris. There's John Dowd, second in points, coming into today's race, loosening up in preparation for the battle to come.
I would think anytime the rain starts to fall, everyone starts to look at John Dowd and think that he may shine in those conditions. Anytime it's been muddy, he's fared well, same as Doug Henry has done in the 250 class.
There's points leader Steve Lamson pulling in. Keep in mind, Mikel Pichon, third in points, was raised in European motocross where the weather doesn't always comply. Let's talk about the racetrack now, David.
Well, the racetrack's basically the same as it was last year. However, with the rain starting to fall, all those off cambers, it makes the track very slick. Picking lines is going to be really important, and trying to stay out of that roost from the guy in front of you and keep clear vision.
You can bet the veterans are going to be paying close attention to their goggle selection, their tear-offs, and so forth. How about starting procedure? Do you change your technique in these conditions, David?
Well, the slicker it gets, it's tend to put a little bit more weight on the rear wheel. You'll see the guys, when the sign goes sideways, you got about 5 seconds before the gate falls, they'll lean way forward. Well, when you do that, you take all the weight off the rear tire. In a 125, you want to get a little wheel spin, but as soon as you get out over into the gate where you haven't been able to prep that starting spot, it's a little muddier, you want to sit straighter up, try to hook up as much as possible.
Ready for the start of the first of two motos. The gate is down, we're away. We'll be watching right there. Lamson on #1, Dowd, second points coming in, almost goes down. He's shown right there as well, but the privateers are right up front.
Craig had an excellent jump out of the gate as well as Lamson, but Craig's line to the first corner was a little bit better, had the inside. He's got the edge right now. Lamson's falling back.
17, Michael Craig. 26, Scott Sheik. Rocketing away at the start over the twisty bumps here. A huge crowd on hand, perhaps the biggest crowd they've ever had here at High Point Raceway.
They're going to get their money's worth because this 125 class is just stacked with talent. Kevin Windham up in there with a pretty good start, and John Dowd, who bumped with Lamson off the gate. Look at him right there. He's already into third place, so he did some heroic moves in the first corner.
Notice the ruts as well. In addition to these professional AMA races, we've also had an enormous amateur event here at Mount Morris this weekend. Over 1,000 amateur riders on hand. This course has taken a beating.
It's going to get rougher as the day continues. Typically, Dave Coombs likes to leave this track rough. He'll go out and fix certain spots if it was to get dusty. That won't be the case today. It's just going to get rougher and rougher.
The forecast is for continuing rain throughout the day. As they climb the hill, quick look back from Craig. Scott Sheik is right there.
That's a double jump. I think that the 250s will be able to get over it. The 125, it's tough unless you go way wide. And right now, Craig doesn't have that much room to go out wide. Sheik will dive right under there and take it away from him.
Good view as they come down the steep hill. Now Craig able to open just a little bit of daylight, but he keeps looking back.
Yeah, that's a sign you like to see if you're Scott Sheik. If you got Craig looking around, you know he's worried about you, and eventually that'll play in your favor.
On that long downhill run, we saw that Mikel Pichon, who got a great start, is drifting back to about 6th place at this point. From overhead, you watch the battle as they circle uphill once again.
Great footage from the back section of the helicopter. You can see how much of the racetrack they're using, all the way to the inside, all the way to the outside. This is a tricky section of doubles and plateaus through here. If you don't get the right timing on your 125, you lose time all the way down the straightaway.
Squeals of delight from the crowd as they watch their heroes fly through the air. In these conditions, I mean, the racers did most of their practice and heat racing in dry conditions. Now they've got rain falling. Can you be conservative on this opening lap?
Well, if you're Mike Craig, you can't. You're going to get a stopwatch and be able to get an interval back to some of the favorites. There's Pichon just coming over the double jump. The track's pretty slick right now. After everybody makes a lap, you'll really be able to tell where the best lines are. But anytime that ground is kind of shiny like that, you know it's very slick. You've got to be real careful with the delivery of the power.
It's race leader Michael Craig bounding up the hill. Behind him, the yellow Suzuki of Scott Sheik, and in third place, the blue Yamaha of Kevin Windham.
And the first factory rider in the field. Windham coming off of that victory at Glen Helen's, got to have some confidence. Got the leaders in sight. I think he knows he can beat both of these guys, and as long as he doesn't get a lot of pressure from behind, he may take his time a little bit with him. Although, the longer you stay behind him, the more you're going to get a face full of mud. So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Rain continues to fall here at High Point Raceway. Windham, the hottest rider in the series, missed the opening round of the Outdoor Championship in Gainesville, Florida with a broken arm. But he says Steve Lamson came from behind to win the championship last year, and I think I can do it this year too.
Well, the speed he's got, there's no question he can do it. He's going to need a little bit of luck, though, to make up that many points. He's going to have to hope Lamson has some bad races. And look at Sheik.
Sheik takes the corner from Craig and moves into the lead.
It's another look overhead. You can see Sheik just diving down to the inside. Nice move. He covered it perfect. I think he planned that because the last lap, Craig went wide there as well, and he knew if he did that again, he'd be perfect position to get in there and steal it away on the inside.
Davey Coombs is with Sheik's mechanic, Kenny Watson.
Kenny, we saw the signal you just gave Scott. We expected to pass that early.
Yeah, he's going really fast, and I just looked like he was following him to me. I just wanted him to get around. Maybe he could pull away from the rest of the guys, but there's still a long time left. But he's riding a great race, and let's see what happens. I mean, I just hope he does well. And we've had a couple bad breaks the last couple of weeks, but we've been keeping our heads up, and we're going to try to do our best today.
Last year, Scott competed for the win here before he had some problems with his bike. Is he really pumped up to come out here and show his people he can lead it to the end?
Yeah, well, he's been on the West Coast for a couple months now, and he likes to get back to the East Coast and ride with these guys. So maybe since he's back home on his home turf, he could really pick it up and ride to his ability because he's a great kid and a great rider.
Kenny Watson talking about his man Scott Sheik, who hails from Germantown, New York, not far from Mount Morris, Pennsylvania. And you notice that the privateers don't have all that much respect for the factory guys and their equipment.
You can't have any. Those are the guys you want to beat because you want their bike, you want their ride, you want to ride around in that big semi. Now Lamson's starting to catch up a little bit. He's hitched a ride with Dowd, it looks like. Both these guys got a pretty good pace now.
Rocketing across the starting area, hard up against the fence, and then head back out again. Good lick there at John Dowd.
One thing about Mount Morris is a lot of long, sweeping corners. There's a good look at one of the longest ones on the track. That's where the start comes in, and it just seems like you're poking around there, but if you try to get on the gas too early, you drift way wide. So choosing lines, as I've already pointed out, is really important here.
John Dowd comes under attack from Steve Lamson. Dowd rode a 250 in this race a year ago. Finished second in the overall, but he's moved back to the 125s this year. Got a couple of second place finishes, but still looking for his first overall.
You can see there another one of those off-camber corners. The guy's going all the way wide, searching for a little bit of dry dirt. They're using one of those berms way at the bottom. It's not the fastest line in terms of distance, but they can drift down that hill, use the berm, and cut back up across there and stay aggressive.
Defending national champ Steve Lamson looked a little slow in that corner. Remember, he made that late tire change just before the gate dropped. I wonder how it's working for him. Now he comes back to terms with Dowd.
Lamson trying all different kinds of lines. That's what he's got to do, search for a new line to get around Dowd.
Lamson's mechanic is Mike Gosler, and Davey is with him.
Mike, we saw you guys make a switch down the starting gate. What was the story of Steve's tire?
We normally run a 490 front tire, which is pretty much a hard pack tire. And when looking at the conditions out here, we just thought maybe it'd pack up too much, so we went with a more aggressive tire.
Whose call was the tire change?
I kind of talked him into it. I hope he's comfortable out there.
So Mike Gosler will have to wear it if Steve Lamson is having problems. Interesting relationship between the mechanics and the riders. This is my first AMA motocross event. The mechanics all seem to be the older, more experienced guys, and the riders are the younger lions that have to listen to what they advise and go with it or don't.
Well, it was a big gamble, I think, on Mike's part, probably the whole team Honda, hoping that it's going to rain more. Now, they're saying he's using a 490 usually. That's, I think, what everyone else is using, and he switched to a more aggressive tire. What he means by that, there's more space between the knobs, and it allows that mud to fling out of there. The problem is, right now the track's still pretty hard packed, so I would be inclined to think that the front end's washing out a little bit on him, and if it starts to rain later on, that gamble will pay off.
Well, right now it's looking like a pretty good gamble. There is Dowd. Lamson is just behind. There he is, coming from the left of your screen with a #1 plate. Hopping over the bumps, had a shot at him in that corner.
Sometimes you just want to get in there and show him your wheel. Let him know you're there.
Plunging downhill. Lamson taking a run against Dowd again and gets by him this time.
Pretty aggressive move. He charged down the hill. It was hard to believe he could get stopped for that inside berm. He shoved down wide. That's the same section where Lamson went down last year on that downhill. He took a trip over the bars, and that was it for him.
It looks smooth from this angle, but when we get down low with our cameras, you can see just how rough this High Point Raceway course is. Now steeply uphill, hard on the gas. Lamson firmly in control of 4th place.
Hey, look at this battle. Windham ahead of all these guys, too. It's pretty amazing that they're not out front. You got Mike Craig and Scott Sheik, the independent rider and the actual full privateer, Scott Sheik, making these guys look bad today. That's very unusual.
3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th running nose to tail. Windham on the left, then the number 1 of the reigning National 125 champion, Steve Lamson. Behind him come John Dowd and Mikel Pichon, the reigning East Region 125 Supercross champion. For those of you unfamiliar with the world of motocross, Supercross are basically stadium courses as opposed to the natural terrain of the outdoor series. And here comes Pichon.
Well, Dowd and Pichon both jumped over that double jump, as you saw, as they entered up into that right-hand corner before they head back down to the woods. Making up a lot of time. Looks like Pichon's got an inside line, too.
On the backside, Pichon looks for 5th place. And it looks like he has it on the bright green Kawasaki. Pichon won the very first 125 outdoor moto of the year at Gatorback Park in Gainesville, Florida, but he's struggled a little bit since then.
You know, riders talk a lot about on an off-camber track where there's a lot of elevation. The track becomes kind of one line. And there's a couple of places where it does look that way, but from this helicopter shot, you can see there's a lot of differences, a lot of places to pass out there. So when you get these guys all clumped together like this, you're going to see some good racing.
Now Pichon chose not to take the double jump there. Dowd coming up from behind takes 5th place back.
So once again, the 2 Yamaha riders looking good. They were 1-2 in the first moto at the last round.
And in that same section, Steve Lamson got around Kevin Windham for 3rd. So we have 2 position changes in 100 yards.
This is probably going to quicken the pace. These 4 riders are really battling each other, and I think the pace is going to pick up a little bit, and they should be able to catch the guys out front, Craig and Scott Sheik, for the moment.
They've all had time to adjust to the conditions as the rain continues to fall. Out front, it is Sheik and Craig, and then this battle. The defending champ, Steve Lamson, Kevin Windham. Now Windham comes under fire from Pichon, who has taken Dowd and Windham in the same section of racetrack.
Windham with a better line around over that tunnel. You can see Pichon's not willing to give it up. He jumps over one of those big step downs, I guess you could call it, coming down that hill and gets him back. But you can see how much they gotta be so delicate around the corners. It's so off camera, it's very difficult to see on camera. Going down this hill too, very steep. Really tough to stay in that inside berm at the bottom.
Well, one thing that TV does not do well for us is give us the true impression of the steepness of these hills. There you get a little bit of an idea. Very, very steep uphills and downhills. Takes a lot of courage to lean on the gas as you fly off one of those brows and point your wheels down.
You also got to pick the right rut. You come over the top of the hill and you can't see what's going on, then you land in a rut. Look at Pichon, he goes for the double. All these guys getting over it pretty clean now. Dowd coming up just a little short, but he's got the strength to pull that off.
Last year, Mikel Pichon picked up his first and only national outdoor victory here at Mount Morris. His mechanic is Chad Watts, who's standing by with Davey Coombs.
Chad, we're at the halfway point. It looks like Mikel snuck up on that lead 5.
Yeah, he's picked up the pace here the last 5 minutes, and he's definitely closing up on those guys, and keep looking ahead, and maybe he'll get a few more of them.
As perhaps you could tell from that accent, Chad Watts does not count French as his first language. I bet the conversations in the pits between he and Mikel are pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, they're getting it done, though. They won the 125 East Supercross title, and they're looking pretty good outdoors here right now, but if he wants a shot at the title, he's got to keep beating Steve Lamson. He's got to get around him now.
Kevin Windham battling there with John Dowd. Steve Lamson pulling away from Mikel Pichon now, looking ahead for Michael Craig, who runs second, and leader Scott Sheik.
Oh, we still can't even see those two guys. They're obviously running a fast pace because all these guys we would typically used to seeing out front playing catch-up today. The Yamaha guys battling amongst themselves. Windham was at the head of this pack at one time, and he slipped all the way behind, so he's not on the same form he was last week.
Windham has slipped from 3rd back to 6th as Dowd makes the pass.
he's not charging into the corners, Windham that is, as hard as he was a little earlier. Maybe it's getting a little slicker. Sometimes you just get sort of a mid-moto, as Brian Swink would call it, a mid-moto bog. There's the mechanics area. Brian Barry telling Dowd, get with it. He wants him to win a national. He's got the speed and the strength and the stamina. He's a strong finisher. He knows he can get up there, but he's got to do it now. The leaders are starting to get away.
In the back section once again, Lamson, then Pichon, and Dowd looking very racy right now. He's charged all the way up to the rear wheel of the Frenchman, looking for 4th place.
Now watch Pichon right here. This is where he's been having trouble. See this double, he doesn't do it. That's the 3rd lap in a row. He hasn't jumped it, and he gets passed again by Dowd.
So Dowd moves into 4th place, demoting the Frenchman to 5th. Meanwhile, up on the point, Scott Sheik leads Michael Craig. Let's explore something you said a little bit earlier, David, that Sheik is a true privateer as opposed to Craig, who is sort of a semi-factory rider with Honda of Troy.
Right, well, it's kind of been calling them the independent teams, the Pro Circuit, the Honda of Troy, the Team Extreme, Great Western, all those guys pulling up in semis, just a step down from the factory. But for Scott Sheik, he's driving his own truck and doing a lot of his own work. The bike parts and the suspension isn't quite at the snuff with everybody else, so that makes his performance all that much better. See, he can't get over that double right there and loses the lead.
But he fights back through the ruts. They come down the hill side by side. No, Craig has the lead.
Sheik's taking a look at him.
Spectacular drop off there, and Sheik moved by. Same place Steve Lamson moved earlier. A preferred passing spot. Scott Sheik back into the lead, trading it with Michael Craig.
Really impressed with Sheik. It would have been easy for him to get past right there and go, okay, well, take a look over my shoulder. There's no one back there second, ain't bad. But goes right back for the lead on a sketchy section going down that downhill. That's really sending a message to Craig. Maybe Craig will lighten up now.
Meanwhile, the battle for 3rd continues. Steve Lamson with the #1 plate has it. Miguel Pichon and John Dowd want it.
They're going to have to want it bad. Lamson's not that easy to pass. He's got the #1 plate to prove it. But still, I don't think he's riding like he usually rides. And I don't know if that front tire is making any difference or not, but I don't know. These guys are so amongst themselves. They're really having a tough time trying to make up time on the leaders.
Pichon on a downhill goes around the outside of Lamson and takes over 3rd place. There is Scott Sheik looking back as Michael Craig closes in.
He's got all kinds of pressure now coming down to the wire. Sheik protecting a good line. You can see he came in there nice and tight. He's going to run tight again through this corner. It's not going to give Craig anywhere that he can get in there and steal it away from him this close to the end of the race.
A year ago at this event, Scott Sheik led early on before crashing, made a lot of fans in this part of the country. Michael Craig's mechanic, Dean Baker, is standing by in the pits with Davey Coombs.
Dean, you got about 5 minutes to go. You're going to tell Mike to settle for 2nd and go for the win.
We never want to settle, but I know he's going to do what he can to win, and right now a 2nd would be good for the overall, so 1st or 2nd, you know, we're looking pretty good, I think.
Are you surprised by Mike's performance so far?
No, I've always had faith in him, and that's why I work so hard for him, and I just heard over the radio we just went into the lead, so I don't know what to say right now.
All right, we'll let him get back to work.
Heck, his man moves into the lead. His work is done. There you see Michael Craig, #17, out in front of Scott Sheik.
Sheik with a little different line through there, squares that corner coming up the hill, gets over the first double, the next one clean. He's staying in contact. Craig out of shape a little bit right there. This is going to go down to the wire. Sheik's got a trainer now. I talked with him earlier in the season. He said that physical conditioning is no longer a weakness, so we'll find out in a minute.
Closing up on leader Craig. They take a run up the hill once again. Craig looks back. Sheik right there and has the inside line for the right-hander.
It almost looks as though Craig goes wide and is waiting for him to come by. I don't really understand his choice of lines. Right here I could understand because Sheik just came down so aggressive. It surprised Craig a little bit. But he had already made that mistake before that and left the door wide open. And Sheik close enough to ride right through it. Now looks like he's got a little breathing room. Not far to go. He's probably about ready to explode inside.
Up on those pegs. Big jump from the bike right there. And why, Michael Craig nowhere in sight. You see him hopping the doubles, but he is well back at this point.
It's amazing to me, too, that that's part of the reason that Craig's not up there challenging. Right there riding down the hill, swapping all over the place, realizing that this has just slipped through his fingers, and he's going to have to settle for second now. But that's still, like his mechanic said, he's in position to win the overall. So if he can keep it up on 2 wheels now, he'll be looking pretty good. But you got to be wondering how this privateer is feeling right now. His first moto win ever, back east where he's comfortable.
Riding in front of the home fans on a racetrack he knows well. In fact, a track he almost won on last year. And that is an incredible achievement for a true privateer. Passing bikes up the hill, headed for the flag. Scott Sheik looking for victory in Moto 1 here at Mount Morris, and he has it. A salute to the crowd. You can bet Scott Sheik is one happy man. What an accomplishment. There is Kenny Watson. Careful, Kenny, you're going to hurt your man. He's got another moto still to come. Michael Craig comes up to offer his congratulations. Here's a look at the Moto 1 results. Sheik over Craig. Mikel Pichon held on for third. Kevin Windham got back around Steve Lamson for fourth. Lamson finishes fifth. There's a look at 6th through 10th. Let's get back down to the racetrack now, where Davey Coombs is standing by with Scott Sheik.
Okay, we're here with a very happy winner. This is Scott Sheik. Scott, congratulations, man.
Thanks a lot, Davey. If it wasn't for my Suzuki today and Pro Circuit doing my bikes, and all my sponsors behind me, Quicksilver, Answer, Smith, and got Dunlop, they all, without their support, I wouldn't have been up here today, and I'm really happy. I knew I could do it. I haven't had too good of luck, and I put it together, and I come out here and I did what I wanted to do, and it really helped me out a lot inside and in my head, and I expect to be up here a lot more. I'm really hungry.
You're from New York. You grew up racing this track as an amateur. How did it feel to have all these fans out here cheering for you? I mean, I know you're not from Pennsylvania, but they sure acted like you were.
I tell you, when I'm out there and I hear every corner when I'm going by and there's fans just screaming, it just makes me just pump up, and I feel my adrenaline pumping, and I'm just on it. And without the fans, I don't think, if everybody was quiet out there, I think I'd probably fall down. Something, I don't know. It's great to have them behind you. Oh,
finally, did your dad make the drive down from New York to see this?
They sure did. My whole family, plus my sister's birthday, and she's pregnant, and the whole family's here. My brother-in-law, my sister, her friend. It's just, it's great. I'm glad they're here to see it.
Well, congratulations to a first ever national moto winner, Scott Sheik.
Thanks.
Congratulations indeed to Scott Sheik. After a great battle with Michael Craig, Davey Coombs has caught up with our second place finisher. Davey?
Mike, so close to your first national win. I know you're disappointed, but at the same time, you're going to be thrilled with the way you rode.
Yeah, I'm not really disappointed because, I came out here in my first practice, and I was doing this huge triple, which nobody else was doing. I threw it away and crashed hard, and told my team owner, hey, I'm not done yet. I love this track here. It's the best track of the year, and the rain's started to make it a little bit hard, but the first beginning of the race, I was catching him and passing him on a triple up the hill. I was happy, but it got too slick, so I didn't want to take a chance. I settled for second.
Okay, what about Scott Sheik? Were you surprised at all with his ride? I mean, you guys were going back and forth the whole way.
Scott Sheik, he rode good in all the corners. He was real fast and quick, which I think I'm a little better jumper, and I could triple past him, and it's for that, but I think if it wouldn't have rained, I would have pushed it to the end, because last 2 laps it was like riding on oil. So I was happy.
You see work being done on the tires in the Yamaha pits for John Dowd and Kevin Windham as we get set for Moto 2 here at Mount Morris. The story of that first moto of the 125s, David, has to be the privateers, Sheik and Craig.
They rode fantastic, and the crowd really likes when the privateers steal the show from the factory guys. And, in the first round of the series, Scott Sheik, second overall at Gainesville, may have had people thinking, well, it was kind of a fluke, but not after that first moto victory. He rode fantastic, deserved it, and once the rain started to fall, he got even stronger.
Good race for Michael Craig as well, finishing second in that first moto. On the downside, there was the performance of the defending national champ, Steve Lamson.
Right, well, I don't think Lamson likes this place very much. This was his return to action last year after the knee injury. He took a trip over the bars, and that rain out there making the track slick, and he just never found his rhythm.
Another guy who rode well, the former Supercross champion in the 125s, Mikel Pichon.
Well, he rode fantastic at the end of the race, getting around Windham and Lamson. That's got to give him a lot of confidence and puts him in a position to win the overall.
And how much of this is due to the conditions? Slight drizzle, cold temperatures, pretty unsure footing?
Well, anytime you've got situations where it's slick like that, you can be real aggressive, but you can't be too aggressive or you get a lot of wheel spin. It's hard to hook up on those off cambers heading up the hills on this slick track.
It's not going to get any better. Let's get down to the starting line now for the beginning of Moto 2 of the 125s. As you might expect, the hometown favorite and first Moto winner, Scott Sheik, will have a lot of support in the crowd as he prepares for the start. What kind of adjustments can these riders make now that they've been around once?
Well, it's not really much. Just go back out and do more of the same thing, and hope you get a good start and you can get right into your rhythms. And if you get a bad start, it changes everything. It looks like Scott Sheik's got one of those little breathe right things on his nose, either so he doesn't snore or so he can breathe good. I think he wants to get all the oxygen he can get and take it to him in second moto.
Now with his thoughts on today's event, here's Davey Coombs.
High Point Raceway here in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania is really the centerpiece of the AMA Outdoor National Series. Since 1977, the riders have been coming here on Memorial Day weekend, which is annually a big racing weekend all over the country. And the crowd gets bigger and bigger every year. And we've heard a lot of riders talking today about how much they appreciate the support the fans give them, whether they're the local guys or the top guys, whether they're from South Africa or New York. The High Point fans seem to be the best, and with 20,000 of them here in the rain, I think it's a good showing for both the track and the fans.
Thank you, Davey. High Point Raceway celebrating its 20th anniversary this year as Steve Lamson pulls into position.
Number 14 right there to Lamson's left fell down in the first corner. Robbie Rayner had to come all the way from last, finished 6th right behind Steve in the first moto, so a better start here. He could be one of the front runners. That's Tim Ferry.
Saw Scott Sheik in there, had a quick look at Michael Craig. Another big field preparing now for Moto 2. 30-second board is up and down, ready for the gate. Revs come up. The crowd is on its feet and screaming, and we are away. Good start again for Steve Lamson.
Looks like Lamson was able to hang on to that lead, and he does. Ferry and Casey Johnson right in there this time.
Entire field bounding downhill, then a hard right-hander, and a long series of S-turns with this jump over the infield tunnel.
Ferry squared off the corner, gets around Lamson into the lead quick. Another good start for Scott Sheik. He's on the right of the screen. Moves into third place. So Ferry going for the jugular in the first lap, takes over the lead.
Ferry the winner here, his first national overall at Mount Morris, Pennsylvania 1 year ago. Leads downhill as Lamson slots in and makes the pass. Got a better run off the corner and powers away.
Actually, Ferry had a little stronger drive after going wide. It jumped the double jump going up the hill. You can see he goes wide. I don't think he expected Lamson to get that strong of a drive out of the inside. Watch Steve. He goes all the way out in front of Tim Ferry. He had to put on the brakes. So smart move by Lamson to get him back quick.
Well, the national champion riding perhaps with a little bit of anger at being outridden in the first moto, right up on the front wheel on that strong downhill pitch. There's our Suzuki clock monitoring the gap back to the riders behind. There goes John Dowd on bike number 7, about 8 seconds behind the race leader Lamson.
Some of the favorites going to have to work their way up from behind. You can see how much time you lose in just the first half a lap. Already 8 seconds is what Dowd's going to have to make up on a rider who he's about to equal with. So you can imagine how tough that's going to be. And it was important, I think, for Lamson to get around Ferry like that real quick. Not let Ferry get any confidence. After all, he did win this race last year. He was probably thinking, all right, I just passed the national champion. I'm on my way. And he gets past real quick. Now he's got to search for another way around Lamson because Steve probably won't let him get him in the same place on the racetrack again.
There is Tim Ferry, champion at this event a year ago. He runs in second spot.
Looks like he's starting to get a little pressure from Kevin Windham. Windham with a kind of a frustrating first moto, getting passed right at the end by Pichon, finished 4th. You'd think that with a 4th place, he may not have a shot at the overall, but after winning the last round, trying to make up some points on Lamson. Lamson going down right there before the uphill.
The race leader is down and slow to get up. Looks like the bike is stalled. Steve Lamson's going to lose a lot of positions on the racetrack, and Tim Ferry is suddenly catapulted into the race lead with Kevin Windham right there behind.
Well, it's even better news now for Windham. I was about to point out he needs to try to keep beating Steve Lamson if he wants any shot at this title. And what a golden opportunity right there. Now, instead of finding himself 3rd and perhaps moving into 2nd, he could pick up the lead here.
As an amateur 2 years ago at this racetrack, Kevin Windham finished 2nd behind Doug Henry, who's also racing here this weekend. and he led for much of the race. A superstar for the factory Yamaha team. Windham is going to be hungry for the lead now. He has a shot at the overall.
And the good news for Windham is that there's nobody really behind him right now, so he can afford to get creative in trying to find a line around Tim Ferry for the lead, because he's got no pressure from behind.
There's a good example of it right there, taking the right side, let riders left as he comes down the hill. Looking for inside position in this corner, and he takes it.
Well, I can't tell you how tough that is to do. Windham charged down the hill and stayed all the way to the inside on this off camera. This is a reverse angle. Looking out from the inside, it's amazing how tight he was able to stay through that corner, and that's what enabled him to make that pass.
Almost like a mountain climber's traverse, the road falling away to the rider's left as he's trying to turn to the right.
Already starting to opening up a little gap on Ferry. Ferry would perhaps be able to learn quite a bit. I'm sure that Windham, the way he caught him, he's got some better lines out there on the racetrack, because both these guys looked aggressive. I think it's just going to have to be lines that would make the difference. They're both getting over this double jump right here, so that's not one of the places.
Later on, we'll see the 250s in action with a little more horsepower. They should be able to hop that double in pretty good order. Now here is Scott Sheik, our Moto 1 winner, now up into third place. He was fourth until Steve Lamson went down. Now he is in third, he too with a shot at the overall.
We heard Mike Craig talk about how fast Sheik was through all the corners. Look at that. Fast around the outside. You can see he's looking over to see where the leaders are. He doesn't care about anything except where they are and if he's gaining time.
What a dream come true it would be for Scott Sheik to win here at Mount Morris. Down in the mechanics area, Davey Coombs.
All right, man. You seem like the most excited person here in the house. Is it too early to start thinking overall?
Well, we still got a lot of time to go. I'm just trying to keep him fired up. You know, he tells me he likes to see me get all crazy, so I try to do my best to keep, I do whatever I can do to keep my rider happy. And, I really want to keep him fired up, so I do whatever I can do. And, he's riding good, and we'll have to see. I don't know.
It comes down to the last lap. Will we see you do a cartwheel?
I don't know about that, but maybe.
All right, Kenny Watson looked like he was misting up just a little bit at the very idea of his man Scott Sheik, a true privateer, putting it to the factory hot shoes this weekend at Mount Morris.
Well, I can tell you, if Sheik wins this thing, Kenny may surprise himself at what he does. But look at Lust flying over all those doubles. The left side of that straightaway all day, it seemed to have proved to be the best place to pass.
We haven't had the opportunity to call Ezra Lusk's number much this race. Number 34 finished 11th in the first moto. Scott Sheik just making that jump, slowing momentarily, and coming up from behind Steve Lamson, who led this moto from the beginning, but then fell in a tight corner and dropped back all the way to 6th spot, now up to 5th. He challenges Sheik for 4th, and he gets him.
Nice move. Lamson's been passing guys on the inside all the way down that hill, though. Sheik was hugging that inside. Finally, right at the end, he drifted out to the berm, and Lamson, with a little bit better technique, perhaps a little bit better suspension as well, was able to hook up on that inside line and make the pass.
Through the backwoods section from high overhead, you see Lamson extending his lead for a position. In the pits, Mike Goslar has one message for his man.
Well, he's going to have to dig real deep to come up with anything today, and with a 5th place in the first moto, overall is just about impossible. Look at Dowd going to the inside, so Sheik starting to drop back now. This doesn't look good in the overall picture. He gets him back. You get more of a run. It's give and take going into that corner. If you go wide, you can jump the double coming up the hill. If you go tight, you can make the pass, but the only way to make it stick is to drift all the way out the way Lamson did that to Tim Ferry in the opening lap.
Scott Sheik back in 5th. He too is going to have to move up a little bit to have that shot at the overall after winning the first moto. He was 2nd in the overall in the season opener in Gainesville, Florida. Back in March, everyone said maybe that was a fluke. He came out and proved his doubters wrong with a first moto victory, and now he has to seal the deal in the second moto.
Getting all kinds of pressure from Dowd right now, and coming into that corner just before they headed down into the woods, Sheik getting over that double clean that time, but the lap before coming up way short, and I have to think that just a little bit down on horsepower, and the suspension may not be dialed in quite as good as these factory guys, so you got to always be thinking Sheik's on inferior equipment.
Sheik stumbled down there in the woods. Dowd had another run at him, but he was able to get the revs up, get down a gear, and get moving once again.
That's the corner they just went through where Lamson went down earlier. It's hard to tell from this angle, but it's very off camber right there. You can lose the front end easy. Now you can see Robbie Reynard starting to enter the picture behind these two.
Reynard, 6th in the first moto, and Dowd attacks once again. Can he do it this time? It appears that he has. And that puts Dowd into 5th, as you see Ezra Lusk and then Steve Lamson hitting the triple. There's Ezra Lusk. Behind him, Steve Lamson, the reigning national champion who led this second moto before falling. Now he's trying to catch Lusk for 3rd place, approaching the triple jump that he's been taking, flying through the air. Oh, he came down hard that time. You see him shaking his left wrist. Meanwhile, Davey Coombs is standing by with his mechanic, Mike Goslar.
Mike, we just watched Steve go a little short off that triple jump, and it looks like he was shaking his wrist off. Can you tell anything when he came through the pit area?
No, I couldn't see. I mean, it wasn't a little short, it was a lot short. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he can hang on for 2 more laps.
Lamson's been gambling all day, first with the tire, and then by jumping that triple. He's the only 125 doing it, came up way short, and he must have jammed his left wrist. The way he was shaking it out like that. Not far to go, and it's kind of a lousy day. Another one for Lusk, too, it looks like.
Ezra Lusk getting sideways in those wicked whoop sections. John Dowd closing up on him for 3rd now. Dowd went by Steve Lamson after he cased that triple. Lusk bouncing that rear wheel all over the track.
Really starting to make a lot of mistakes now, and Dowd is probably enhancing that just by pushing him that much more, making him try harder in the later stage of this race.
Incredibly rough racetrack, and yet these guys handle it with ease. Coming down on the front wheel there, Ezra Lusk opened up a little bit of space, but now in the tight turns, Dowd has him in his crosshairs.
Ryan Berry putting on the board, must pass.
And must do it now as the laps run down in this second moto. It must be difficult to see those mechanics boards as you fly by on this rough surface.
It is. He's focusing. You can see that's where the mechanics area is, and Dowd's only looking at the back end of Lusk right now. He's just concerned with the battle, not what he knows what he needs to do.
This is for 3rd place. Dowd down the middle of the racetrack. Lusk way out on the outside. Now steeply downhill. Dowd dives for the inside line and has it. Oh, they come together and down goes Lusk.
Pretty aggressive move by Dowd, but you know, I don't think that was dirty racing really. He just got in there, and we're gonna get another look from the other angle. Dowd just taking Lusk wide. Didn't really hit him very much. Lusk just got out in that soft stuff and lost the front end right there, and I don't think Dowd did it on purpose. It's just unfortunate for Lusk.
Meanwhile, up front on his final lap, Kevin Windham, who finished 4th in the first moto. Scott Sheik finished 1st in that moto, but he's back in 7th right now, and nobody else in the top 5 running in the top 5 in this second moto. So Windham looking good for his 2nd straight overall in AMA outdoor motocross competition.
Actually made a big mistake back there in the woods, kind of had both feet hanging off the back, but he's only got about 100 yards to go now.
Flying with a heel clicker for the fans. Kevin Windham picks up his 2nd straight overall and a big step up in the national standings. Here's a look at our Suzuki leaderboard after Moto 2. Kevin Windham takes the victory after a 4th in Moto 1. But keep in mind, none of the other top 5 in Moto 1, Scott Sheik, Michael Craig, Mikel Pichon, or Steve Lamson, appear in the top 5 here. That means Windham picks up his 2nd overall.
All right, Kevin, 2 national wins in a row. You got to be stoked.
Yeah, I was really excited. I had a pretty good performance in the first one, came out 4th, and I decided to try to get the best hole shot I could, and you know, just put my head down and go. I didn't think it was possible to get the overall. I'm really excited.
It seems like you didn't have as much go juice at the end of this first moto as you did in the second moto, but man, you just came on fire.
Yeah, I caught a flat, I think, somewhere on like the last lap, and you know, just all that, and I kind of saw it was timing Ferry, and you know, he was holding a good pace, and I was just trying to hold enough to where you know, he was a few bike lengths behind me where I could see him. That way I had a chance to make a mistake or something.
I know you missed the first national of the year with your injury, but now you've got 2 overall wins in a row. Actually, 3 good rides, including Hangtown. How do you feel about the national championship? Do you have enough time to catch those points up?
Well, Lammy sure did do it last year, and you know, I'm not really looking at that right now. I'm trying to go each race one by one, and so far it's been working for me. You know, 2 in a row, and you know, I'm just taking one race at a time and doing the best I can.
All right, well, congratulations to you and Allie on a fine ride.
Thanks a lot.
Pretty mature comments from an 18-year-old with a big future in front of him. In the overall, Kevin Windham takes the victory over Scott Sheik, John Dowd, Tim Ferry, and Michael Craig. The defending national champion and points leader coming in, Steve Lamson, finishes in 8th spot. Let's get back down to Davey.
Scott, the second moto didn't go as well as the first moto. It looks like you still got second overall, according to our unofficial tally.
Yeah, I got out there and I felt like, you know, the bike was kicking me a little bit more because the track got a lot rougher and I wasn't prepared for it. So it kind of took its toll on my body, and just got, you know, I wasn't there all the way, and I faded a little bit. You know, I tried putting up a nice pace and trying to be strong. I was still strong, but my pace wasn't up there where it should be, and my strength wasn't to the fullest. But you know, the track is really good today, and it's really took its toll on me. But I loved it. You know, at least I can get the second overall, and I'm very happy with that. It would have been nice to get a first overall, but I'm very happy with the second.
Congratulations also on your top privateer finish.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Congratulations indeed to Scott Sheik. Here's a look at our Suzuki national standings. After 4 rounds, Steve Lamson leads John Dowd, standing by with Davey.
John, seems like you and Ezra Luster having a great battle there at the end of the first, or around the second moto.
Yeah, I didn't really get such a good start, and I kind of came up on him, and you know, it was towards the end of the race, so I'm sure he didn't want to give up that position too easily, and we kind of tangled a little there. I don't know if he fell or what. I didn't see him for a few minutes, but I kind of felt him on me, you know, towards the last lap there. So it was pretty fun, though. I'm sure he's not too happy, but you know, that's racing. We got a little too close there on the off-camera turns, and we tangled a little bit, but it was fun.
Well, one wonders if Ezra Lusk feels the same way. A big heel clicker from Kevin Windham, and doing it with a rear tire going down. Final thoughts on the 125, David?
Well, anytime you got a guy like Windham charging up through the pack, putting together 2 overalls in a row, doing a heel clicker on the last lap with a flat tire, I think we could be looking at a repeat of last year's championship going down to the final moto between Lamson and Hughes.
Here's the phenomenon of the sport thus far. 4-time Supercross champion and reigning 250 outdoor titleist Jeremy Mcgrath, going for his 7th and 8th straight moto victories and 4th straight overall here today.
Here's a look at Phil Lawrence. He's looking behind him. You can see a dozer working on the track back there. They're trying to smooth out some of those ruts, I think. And then you can see the rain coming down now, Bob, so the track's going to be getting a lot slicker. It's still pretty hard packed. It won't get real muddy, but it will get slicker as the day continues.
I think it's muddier now than ever as the rain continues to fall. In fact, it's probably falling harder than it has all day.
Morocco's not had the season he would like to have had. The switch to Suzuki, we've already pointed out before that he came into the season off serious knee surgery and starting to get it back together. He hasn't had good starts in the outdoors so far, but he's been going fast. So I would look for him to get decent starts here today and really be a factor.
Morocco injured, did not ride this race a year ago, so the track will in many ways be a bit unfamiliar to him.
Here's a good look at Brian Swink and how technical this sport has become. That's a carbon fiber helmet, $700 worth.
Here's a look at our standings coming into this race. Jeremy Mcgrath, perfect so far this year, 150 points. We're getting used to seeing that with the Showtime phenomenon. Jeff Emig in second place is the man who stopped McGrath's winning streak in Supercross at 13 straight events. We'll be hoping to end another streak here today in the outdoor. On bike number 1 is McGrath. The gate is down and we are away. McGrath with a good start on the red Honda.
He gets pushed wide. Number 16, Greg Albertine. Mike Jones is the local, number 49, a privateer. But Albertine just muscled his way around Jeremy, kind of pushed him so wide he allowed Mike Jones to sneak into second.
There's a good look at Jones from Export, Pennsylvania. And up front, the eminently qualified 3-time world champion Greg Albertine, still kind of struggling to come to terms with American-style outdoor motocross.
Well, he makes little mistakes. He just made a little one right there. He didn't lose any time, but the guy is fast. You know, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, Bob, because I've said it a million times. He's fast enough to win, but he can't keep it upright. So today is another opportunity for him with a great start. See if he can lead it to the final lap of this race and hold off McGrath.
Tough for anybody to be compared to McGrath these days, but Albertine has had 2 second-place moto finishes behind Showtime this year. Right now, he's drawing away from Jones, McGrath, and the rest of the field.
The track's still in pretty good shape right now. Although that rain's falling, they've done a good job of with the layout. The rain can't sit anywhere on the racetrack. There's so many hills. The rain runs off, and stays in pretty good shape. There's a few shiny spots out there where it's slick. If you avoid those, you'll be all right.
You see that Mcgrath has moved into second place. Davey Coombs is standing by with Skip Norfolk, his mechanic.
Here we go again. Albie gets the lead from Jeremy right off the start and takes off. Same script?
Well, I don't know. I think, you know, he's trying to feel anything out. It's raining a little bit. It's hard packed underneath. It's kind of slimy. As long as nobody's coming from behind to pressure him, I think he just may stay there and feel things out for a couple laps just to kind of see what it's going to do. And it's kind of hard to say. I mean, if the sky's open, it's going to change everything. And if it dries out, then we're just going to have great racing. But it's real early in the race, and it's kind of early, and we know what happened a couple weeks ago, and just kind of hope for the best.
Well, that's just Skip being nice with Albertine. What he's referring to is a couple weeks ago at Glen Helen, Albertine passed Jeremy, led the race till the final couple of laps and crashed. So basically just be smart right here and let Albertine set the pace, and once you get comfortable, if he hasn't fallen already, then try to make a pass.
Watch the battle right there between 23 Brian Swink and 15 Doug Henry.
Rocco starting to sneak in there as well. This is where Doug Henry won his first 250 National Outdoors. Foot slipped off the peg right there, coming around that sweeper. That's the outside peg where you want to apply that pressure. It didn't matter though, he still passed everybody.
49 Michael Jones hanging in there, about to be swamped by the factory hot shoes.
He gets squeezed over against the edge of the racetrack for everybody to come riding right by him.
This is for third place. Doug Henry now has it. Swink moves into fourth place. Jones drops to fifth after a tremendous start. Of course, he does a lot of riding here, knows the track well. As you watch Brian Swink.
See how tough it is for these guys to get down the hill. Emmig's starting to get into the picture now in the bright green. So hard to make that inside at the bottom, and on the 250 you can still take the inside and get over that double.
Look at Mike LaRocco on number 8 coming up the inside, powering past Jones, now attacking Swink. LaRocco is on the move, looking for his first overall of the year.
Well, he's in a hurry. He fought that bike all the way down the hill. It's not the bike's handling really that's bad. It's just that he picked a line that was extremely rough. And the only guy that can do that really and make it work is LaRocco. He's so strong. He'll shine on a track like this today. The worse the conditions get, the faster he's going to go.
That's LaRocco's reputation. A great outdoor specialist. Very, very strong. Very experienced now as well. There you see Larry Ward with a towel flying off his right hip as he passes Michael Jones, who had a great start in this 250 Moto 1, has been working his way back through the top 10 since.
Larry Ward's been riding pretty good too lately, and the towels just because of the muddy conditions. If it gets a lot worse and you get mud on your hands or on your goggles or whatever, it may come in handy later on.
Back up to the battle for third place. Ward now moving up on Brian Swink, number 23, who in turn is chasing Mike LaRocco. Doug Henry. LaRocco comes down, and look at Larry Ward come flying around that corner using the wide line.
Well, that's that big sweeper that where the start comes in, and it's tough to pick a line. You can go fast around the outside, but then you give up all that space coming into that tough right-hander where Emmig made that time back up on Larry.
Ward and Swink behind them. Jeff Emmig, whom you just saw on that bright green Kawasaki, charging down the hill. Now Swink goes wide. Emmig will close up a few bike lengths on him.
Swink went way wide, looking for some dry dirt to get some traction on, and that's such an off-camber corner. I mean, you can go like 40 feet longer distance, but if you find some place where you can get down there and be aggressive, you can make all that time back up. Didn't pay off for Swink. He almost got passed by Emmig.
We can't overstate how rough and rutted this track has gotten. An amateur event preceding the pro events featuring 1,000 riders has really churned up this course. And of course, the 125s race here as well as the 250 stars.
Larry Ward dancing around quite a bit coming down that downhill. Wasn't able to do that double jump right there. Swink and Emmig over it clean. They'll make up some time. You see all the mud flying. That's flying in their face as well. So vision is really important, especially back here in a battle like this. If Emmig can't get around these two very quick, well, he disposes of Swink. That's the same place Swink got passed by LaRocco. I was about to say, if he can't get around him, he'll be chasing all that mud, and he'll run out of vision before the end of the race.
You can bet that stuff stings at top speed.
Oh, it's coming off the rear wheel. The bike in front of him is 70 or 80 miles an hour, and you're charging 40 or 50 into it. And that's why these guys wear chest protectors. It hurts.
Doug Henry running in third place with a piece of racetrack all his own right now. Battle between Greg Albertine, the race leader, and Jeremy Mcgrath in second place, well out in front of him. And Mike LaRocco at this point a good ways behind.
Henry probably going to be forced to think about LaRocco here pretty quick, as LaRocco's been catching him steadily. And it's a long ways up to Mcgrath from Doug Henry, so it's tough to keep your focus forward when there's no one there.
He continues to string out. Henry, as we mentioned, picked up his first 250 national overall here 1 year ago. Mike LaRocco now closing up on him. Henry coming in off his best performance of the year thus far, a 5th in the most recent round at Glen Helen Park in California.
This is where Doug really started getting things rolling last year, coming off of a couple of good heat races in Supercross, beating Mcgrath, and then picking up his first overall win here. It looks like this year he's starting to do the same thing.
Heading down into the woods, LaRocco pulls up behind Henry. Can he get him? Yeah, well, briefly he had a shot at him, and then he powers by. So Mike LaRocco moves up into third spot. Down in the mechanics area, his engine tuner and father is with Davey.
Your boys moved into third. It's set up for him to go after Mcgrath and Albertine. How bad does he need this moto win?
He needs this moto win really bad for his confidence and for Suzuki's confidence. I think we're in a position we can still get it. We're only about 8-9 seconds back. We got plenty of time.
Well, he doesn't need a lot of time because Mike LaRocco has already closed up onto the rear wheel of Jeremy Mcgrath for second place.
Crowd really enjoying it too. It's not that often that they get to see Jeremy really having to fight for a position. And he's in a Suzuki sandwich right now. Albertine out front, LaRocco coming up from behind, and as Mike's dad pointed out, Mike doesn't only need this win for his own confidence, but for the team. If Team Suzuki can pull off an upset here, I guess you could call it, by going 1-2, that'd really boost the whole team and prove to everyone that the bike is capable of winning. And that does a lot for the rider's confidence.
Bike number 8 is on a charge, powering past reigning national champ Jeremy Mcgrath for second.
Look at Jeremy, he just kind of had to cruise into the corner. He knew he had been passed. Nothing much that we could do to counter that. Now he's just got to stick with LaRocco, caught him quick, and see if he can figure out where he's going faster and maybe get him back. There's still time enough.
Meanwhile, everybody chasing Greg Albertine up front. Listen to the cheers go up for Mike LaRocco.
Crowd really getting into this. As I pointed out already, it's not often they see a challenge. It's even less often than that you see Jeremy get passed. And LaRocco caught him quick, and look, he's already starting to pull away a little bit. So, crowd's seeing something fairly unusual today.
During the Supercross season just passed, even if Jeremy Mcgrath was challenged, that made news. He won moto after moto, overall after overall, 13 straight before being beaten by Jeff Emig at St. Louis. Went on to claim his 4th straight Supercross championship, something no other rider has ever done. Last year he proved himself. It was always said that he was a great Supercross rider but lacked something in the National Motocross 250s, so he came out and won that national championship. Right now, Jeremy Mcgrath finds himself in 3rd place here at Mount Morris, and without any disrespect at all, the crowd is loving it.
And Jeremy's not hooking up as good as LaRocco. I think it's a little bit to do with lines. LaRocco over that triple clean, back on the gas, and you notice Mike's using that loam. He's not in that hard slick stuff where Jeremy is. Jeremy's trying to use a little bit too much finesse out there on that hard slick stuff, and he's just not getting hooked up coming out of the corners. In the back section, before they came up around to the finish line, I noticed that Jeremy came out of 2 of those corners and just left a big skid mark on the ground, so he's just getting wheel spin everywhere, and now Doug Henry's starting to catch up.
Absolutely. Henry, the former Honda rider, now with Yamaha, closing up for 3rd place behind Mcgrath.
It's going to give the crowd something to cheer about again. Just when the battle was starting to shape up between Jeremy and LaRocco, LaRocco finished it. Looked like it was going to be over, but now Henry seems to have a lot faster pace right now than Jeremy. So,
what an athletic exercise, watching these guys soak up the bumps with their legs and their backs and their arms. Henry's mechanic reminding him about speed in the corners.
Right, that's what I was just kind of pointing out with Jeremy. That's where he's losing his time, and if Doug can keep his speed up through the corners, that's probably where he'll be able to make a pass or just on the exit, carrying more speed.
Making up huge ground on those jumps as well, and you notice the green Kawasaki of Jeff Emig coming up behind. But right now, Jeremy Mcgrath has all he can handle with Doug Henry. And Henry is around for third place, dropping the reigning champ to fourth. Whatever his mechanic, Pete Steinbrecher, told Doug Henry, it certainly worked. Let's see if Davey Combs can learn more about Henry's situation.
Pete, we see a huge smile on your face. It's the first time during the comeback, at least outdoors, that Henry's ridden like this, and he just passed Mcgrath. How do you think Doug's feeling?
Well, I know he's getting tired, but you guys have seen it in the past that Doug never gives up. And if you guys see him get past, I know he's just out of energy, but he's going to put everything he's got into it right now.
Well, we can see that by that triple jump move there. That surprised you? He jumped it right next to Mcgrath.
Yeah, I saw him do that in practice, and I guess him and Jeremy are, I think, pretty good buddies. That maybe he knows that Jeremy's, I guess, a little bit straighter of the jumps that wouldn't take him out.
Pete Steinbrecher raises an interesting issue, getting tired, as you see Mcgrath now coming under fire from Jeff Emig. The top riders have been riding 19 of the last 20 weekends. I mean, racing 19 of the last 20 weekends. They have a 2-week break coming up after this event. A lot of these guys might be a little road weary.
Well, yeah, it's difficult, too, to stay in top peak condition because today you're looking at a situation where it's raining and kind of cold. In between motos, you catch a chill. Then the next weekend, or the last national, for instance, was in the hundreds. So it's very difficult to maintain a peak physical level throughout the season.
Doug Henry on the blue Yamaha, number 15, runs in third.
There's ruts in the faces of all those jumps coming down the straightaway, and it looked like Emig had a run on Jeremy, and then got stuck in the ruts. There he comes again.
And Emig gets by, however briefly. Now looks like he's knocked it down. Fourth place for Emig, dropping the national champ back to fifth.
Oh, I can't remember the last time, if there even was a time when Jeremy dropped this many positions. Something's just not quite right with his bike setup, or he just isn't getting the proper lines. Something's not coming together for Jeremy. It's very, very odd you would see him drop that many positions, or even that easily, really. It's usually a fight, but once Emig positioned himself to the inside, he just reached up, pulled a tearaway as if to say, well, you got me. I'll just come back to second moto and kick your butt.
See Emig sticking to the rider's left side of the track. Mcgrath way over on the rider's right. Scrambling for grip, trying to get a smoother ride, pick up some speed. Mcgrath just does not look quick, particularly through that part.
Nope, and he reached up once again to try to clear his vision, so vision could be a problem for him, and we just don't know it.
Emig looking good. Earlier this season, we asked him about his memories of Mount Morris. Here's what he told us.
My histories at Mount Morris, in the past races I've had, anywhere from mediocre to winning both motos, to knocking myself out and not even finishing. And that was the year that I won my 135 national championship. So I've had really great races and I've had some really bad races there. But I think that this is one of those years when I'm back on the upswing. So, so hopefully I'll be able to, pull off some moto wins and gain some points back, towards that 250 national championship.
Well, Jeff Emig doing exactly that. He came into this weekend second in points behind Jeremy Mcgrath, and he is marching his way through the order. He is now up to third place behind the Suzuki teammates Greg Albertine and Mike LaRocco.
I think there's probably not enough time for him to go up and catch those two guys out front, but it is important for him to stay as far ahead of Jeremy as he can and put as many riders between himself and Jeremy to pick up all the points he can pick up. That's going to be in addition to the confidence booster it's got to be for him to move around Jeremy. That's LaRocco's mom. LaRocco's starting to move in on the leader now, so she's perhaps anticipating a moto win finally.
LaRocco family makes motocross a family sport, and they have for a long time. Mike on his new Suzuki ride, closing up now on his teammate. There's Greg Albertine. Rocco not far behind at all.
It wasn't long ago when he won as many outdoor races as Jeremy wins, and starting to look like Mike LaRocco again. Charging from, I guess, about as far back as 6th place at one time. He passed everybody, earned this spot. Now he's really starting to gain on Albertine, and there's time enough for him to pass him for the lead.
We are getting into the later laps. Fatigue, a possible factor. There you see him taking that jump in great style. Going by, was that a slower rider? Yes, it was. There's Albertine on number 16, still out in front as they plunge downhill.
You can hear the crowd starting to get into it too. They want to see a battle as well. They're waving on Larocco.
None of them more so than the man who runs Suzuki's motocross team. The legendary Roger DeCoster is with Davey.
Every time it seems like we talk to Greg Albertine's mechanic, Ian, something bad happens to Greg. So we're not even going to talk to him. We just thought we'd talk to you. Is Greg feeling like he's really comfortable today?
Yeah, actually both Greg and Mike were feeling happy about the track already on Friday, and Greg's attitude was that he was here to win today, and Mike, I saw Mike smile a lot, which doesn't happen many times at the races, especially lately.
Greg Albertine heads into his final lap in the lead.
I think the difference here for Albertine is that he's been in the lead before, but he's never been in the lead and not had Jeremy breathing down his neck. So now he looks back and sees his teammate. That's got to help him relax quite a bit.
Wonder how Skip Norfolk and Jeremy Mcgrath feel. Their strategy, which we heard early on, was to wait until Albertine blew up, basically. But it hasn't happened. He's been steady and out front since the beginning of this moto.
It's very rare that you would hear Skip Norfolk or Jeremy, especially Skip, though, talk about waiting. You know, they ride with a lot of patience. They've got the confidence to do that, but usually they just go for it, and that's what happens when you don't.
Passing slower riders, that shows you something about how fast Greg Albertine is riding. His track about a mile round. He has been lapping slower riders for some time now.
He's got a pretty nice flow right now, too. He's kind of standing up. Doesn't look like he's trying that hard, and that's usually a symbol of having everything going your way. He's able to reach up, clear his vision, jump over all the bad holes. Right there, he doesn't catch his foot in the ground very much. He's just gliding around the racetrack, making it look easy. He's still got to charge a little bit because Larocco's there, but he knows he's close enough to the finish line now to take it home.
A little bit of a fist pump there for the huge crowd gathered here at High Point Raceway. More than 20,000 motocross fans watching their heroes in action in some decidedly compromising conditions. Rain continues to fall. Albertine up out of the saddle, taking those jumps in style. Greg Albertine from South Africa picks up the Moto 1 victory here at Mount Morris. Fists in the air as he passes the Suzuki service vehicle. There's James Dobb, an Englishman, giving his South African teammate a hug. He rides in the 125 series for Suzuki. Here are our Moto 1 results. Albertine and Larocco in a Suzuki 1-2, then Emig, Henry, and Jeremy Mcgrath. Ryan Swink got a good start, but faded to 6th, followed by Phil Lawrence, Kyle Lewis, Cliff Palmer, and Larry Ward. Here's Davey Coombs with our happy Moto 1 winner.
It's about time.
It's way overdue. You know, I paid my dues. I worked really hard for 2 years, and I just want to give Jesus Christ all the glory because he's been with me through all the hard times and the good times, you know, and I've been working really hard and everything's finally come together. And I have so many people to thank, you know, Gary Bailey, Joe, my trainer, Ian Harrison, my fantastic mechanic. My RM250 is running great. All my sponsors, you know, BFE, Oakley, No Fear, really appreciate it.
Well, but someone hasn't been in the winner's circle for a long time. You sure have the rapport down.
Trust me, I've memorized it so many times, and so many times I've been disappointed, and I know it by heart.
I know it's only one moto win, but how good does it feel?
Feels so good. You know, I've been waiting for this for so long just to get my confidence up, and I think it's going to be a snowball effect from now, and I'm back.
All right, we'll see you in the next moto.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Dave.
Congratulations indeed to Greg Albertine. Here's a look at Mike Larocco, who we thought had a shot at his Suzuki teammate, but he finishes second. He's with Davey.
You and your teammate Greg Albertine. I know that we talked to Roger DeCoster during the moto, and he said both of you guys needed that win, but second, is that too good for your confidence?
Well, yeah, if I win the second moto, or if I win the second round, but actually I felt pretty good out there. My Suzuki's working real good now, and I felt good. I think I'd take a second moto.
Yeah. We noticed on the triple jump here, you waited a few laps before you started to jump that, and you're making time the whole moto on that. Was that something you had planned earlier?
No, it's just with the rain, everything's a little slick, and the first half of the race I were a little bit tentative, and you know, I started getting a groove and felt good, so I went for it.
All right, finally, how do you feel about your teammate Greg Albertine finally getting a national moto win here in America?
I'm happy for him. I'm glad anything but a Honda win. So.
Back at High Point Raceway in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania, ready for the second moto in 250 competition of the AMA National Championships. I'm Bob Varsha along with David Bailey. A lot of action in that first moto, particularly strong performance by the former world champ, Greg Albertine.
Well, I'm not surprised by how fast he's going, but I am surprised he kept it on 2 wheels. This proves what he can do when he doesn't crash.
Now, how about Jeremy Mcgrath, the reigning champ? We haven't seen him back in 5th in a moto in a long time.
I know, not since last year here. And, you know, I just don't think Jeremy does well in this kind of conditions. It's kind of slick like this. He just wasn't hooking up out there and really paid the price.
Good race for Mike LaRocco, who's been through some tough times recently as well. The conditions are not expected to improve. Let's get down to the starting line now for Moto 2 of the 250s. Skip Norfolk, mechanic for Jeremy Mcgrath. Some final comments to his rider.
You know, Bob, it's very rare you see Jeremy have 2 bad motos in a row or 2 bad races in a row. I would look for him to come out swinging. You can see over these guys' shoulder the rain is really starting to come down hard. And LaRocco, he's got to be sitting in the pits thinking, I'm the fastest rider on the track. I caught the leader from really far back. Emig also had a pretty good pace moving around Jeremy, so there's a lot of guys that could be up front in this race.
But to get up front, they'll have to get a good start. In these conditions, don't want to wait, as Jeremy Mcgrath found out in Moto 1. The gate is down, we are away. Doug Henry on number 15. The field funneling into turn number 1. Jeremy Mcgrath with a great start. There you see him on the red number 1 bike, and he's got all of the early leaders from Moto 1 right there with him.
All the contenders have gotten great starts. Emig looked like he had the whole shot, and Jeremy rode right around the outside of him. Now here comes Emig.
Riding that back wheel, number 2. Jeff Emig takes the lead. Doug Henry right there. He too goes around Jeremy Mcgrath, who bobbled coming down the hill, and Mike LaRocco on the wide line looking for a way past as well.
Also, it looked like Albertine hugged that inside, may have slipped into the 4 spots. The 2 Suzuki teammates, first and second in the first moto, are right there within striking distance of the lead.
In the 125 event that preceded this 250 national championship race, Kevin Windham rode consistently through 2 motos and picked up the overall. No one from the top 5 able to repeat in the second moto. Right now, all of our Moto 1 top finishers in the 250 class are right there behind race leader Jeff Emig.
Doug Henry can just smell an overall win. This is where he got his first one last year. Right now, he's looking at the lead. If he can pick it up, depending on how these guys finish behind him, he could mathematically win the overall.
And look at Jeremy Mcgrath back in 5th place once again.
Honda Troy with good starts. Swink and Larry Ward still up there, but Emig, you can see he's already reaching up to clear his vision. He's out front. So what happens is all that mud comes off your front tire, it goes up, and you run into your own roost.
Emig and Doug Henry both going for their goggles, either for tear-offs or rip away a new shield to clear their vision as they plunge down into the forest. Boy, it's slow down in that corner.
Well, it's extremely technical section on the racetrack. There's a lot of roots from those trees, and when they get wet, it's just like trying to ride over slippery pipes. You don't get any traction. Henry got a little sideways, held up everybody.
Jeff Emig consolidating his lead.
It's an exciting racetrack the way the layout is, because the spectators are all up in the middle and all the riders disappear for a moment as they go into the back section, and really lends to the anticipation as they reappear.
This skirmish between Mike LaRocco and his Suzuki teammate Greg Albertine, first and second place finishers in the first moto, and no quarter given.
Well, DeCoster has got 2 guys finally with a chance at the overall win, and the way it sits right now, Emig would pick it up. The 3rd and the first moto leading right here, so he needs these guys to get around. If they got to get in and be physical and rub elbows with each other to get motivated, then so be it. But get up to the front, because you got 2 chances, and if you throw it away here today, I don't know when you're going to get it again.
They run 3rd and 4th. The Suzuki team looks on. LaRocco, number 8. Albertine, number 16. Doug Henry just ahead. Jeremy Mcgrath just behind.
So everybody just riding right around Mcgrath, the same as they did in the first moto. He had the whole shot. Emig got around him right in this section. And then Doug Henry, and now the Suzuki guys really starting to pour it on.
Rocco goes by Henry for second. Can Henry respond? Oh, and Albertine is down.
Looked like Albertine tried to go for both those guys on the inside, paid the price. We'll see just to the very, very right of the screen. Albertine looked like he had the pass on both of them, or at least was going for it, but it's even more off camera right there against the grass. No traction at all, and the bike just slipped out from underneath him.
Jeremy Mcgrath and Larry Ward got by. There is Doug Henry, with Mcgrath just behind him. Mcgrath now up to 4th with Albertine's fall. Doug Henry in 3rd.
So now in the mechanics area, the Suzuki guys are doing their math. Probably that's going to take Albertine out of the equation for the overall win. So now if they can just keep Mike LaRocco on the gas and charging after Emig, not let these guys around, then Suzuki could win here today.
Mcgrath looked up the inside, couldn't get it done. Dives behind Henry, then goes up the inside in this corner. and takes away third place. So Mcgrath on a charge. When we talked with him earlier this season about coming to Mount Morris, he put it all in perspective. High Point Raceway is a place where you have to put two good motos together to have any chance at all.
Mount Morris, for me, has had its ups and downs. I've won motos there, and I've crashed motos there, and I actually broke my leg there in '91. So, I mean, it's a great track. I love it, but sometimes, it doesn't go all my way. And last year, I had a moto win, but I think I crashed 4 times in the first moto. So, I mean, hopefully this year, when I go there, I can put 2 motos together and hopefully come out with a win.
Well, Jeremy Mcgrath has certainly left himself with some work to do after a 5th place finish in Moto 1. He is up to 3rd spot right now behind the man on the right there, number 8, Mike LaRocco.
Jeremy doing a beautiful job of getting over that triple jump. He came out of that corner before it on the inside and still hugged the inside after the triple. So he's starting to get his lines together, ride a little bit better, and he caught these guys. That's going to give him a little confidence and make these guys nervous.
It's Jeff Emig, the race leader on the Kawasaki number 2. Slower rider getting out of the way to let the leaders through. Emig, LaRocco, and Mcgrath nose to tail.
This huge crowd's going to get their money's worth now, I can tell you that. These guys are going to fight for it, that's for sure.
All 3 of these guys with a shot at the overall, but Mcgrath has to get ahead of them and get some help from slower riders or perhaps someone else. Moving up from behind, contact, and Emig is off the course.
Wow, LaRocco got in there and just punted Emig. It looked like Emig grabbed a handful of gas. And see if we get another look. Yeah, Emig grabbed a handful of throttle. That caught him by surprise. He didn't expect to see LaRocco coming up the inside. He was already on the inside, but LaRocco did a good job to set that up, and now here comes Jeremy.
Two-way battle for the lead between LaRocco and Mcgrath. You see Emig held on to 3rd place. Fortunately, didn't get tangled in that tape along the edge of the course. Now Mcgrath gets a little bit wide and LaRocco able to pull away.
I can tell you this, Emig is not finished with LaRocco. You go and do that stuff to Emig and you're going to have to pay. So if he can catch back up to him, there's going to be some fireworks.
Well, getting back to what I said a moment ago, this is what Jeremy Mcgrath needed, but he needed Emig to drop further back in the top 5. Right now he's got LaRocco ahead of him and Emig behind him. And now he has LaRocco behind him.
Jeremy got a strong drive out of the corner at the bottom of the hill and just shifted up a gear, made the move on LaRocco. That's where he was losing time in the first moto. Coming out of all those corners, he was getting a lot of wheel spin. He made some changes to the motorcycle, probably, maybe a tire, or else Jeremy just changed his lines, but it's working now.
There's Mike LaRocco, who bumped his way past then race leader Jeff Emig before being passed by Mcgrath. But Jeremy still needs help. If LaRocco stays where he is, he has the advantage for the overall.
The way it looks for Jeremy right now, though, isn't too bad. Winning the second moto, kind of putting an exclamation on things. If he can hang on to it, he wouldn't lose that many points to Emig, his nearest competitor for the title. But LaRocco really made things easier for him, though, when he got Emig out of the way. Now Jeremy doesn't have to pass him.
Doug Henry on his Yamaha battles the yellow Suzuki of Greg Albertine. This is for 4th place, and it's a very important position for Albertine. This is the one he must have if he is to take his first national overall.
And right now he's got it. As he came up the hill, he was out wide and set up Henry perfect. There's Henry's mechanic saying, look ahead, forget about Albertine. What he's going to find out as they pop back into view is that if he looks ahead, he's going to find the guy that he didn't want to get around. So Henry's looking good, but a few guys looking a little bit better.
Albertine has already left him. You see him just up around the corner. Meanwhile, this is LaRocco and Albertine now fighting over 3rd. Albertine, very quick in that corner, getting the front wheel up in the air. Sharp left-hander as he consolidates 3rd place from his teammate LaRocco.
He almost gave it back by dropping out wide there again, but got in a little battle to see who was going to let off first, and it was LaRocco who had to.
You can bet Suzuki team manager Roger DeCoster is watching this battle with some interest.
Definitely, and this is the part that scares me about Albertine. As he came into that corner just back to that right-hander, his front end washed out, and then he made a little bobble there. He's already in an overall position. Now he's in a knockdown, drag-out battle with his teammate. And it's unnecessary. This is where he usually makes mistakes and goes down. He's already in overall position, so just take it easy.
Now LaRocco moves his teammate to the outside, as he did with Jeff Emig just a few laps ago, driving Emig right off the racetrack. Albertine keeps his feet. LaRocco has 3rd place. Now Albertine comes back with the inside line. Over the jumps he goes. He has third.
So that looked a little bit more mellow to me. I mean, I would go for that pass, but the ones before it, it seemed like he was taking too big of a chance. And, you know, anytime you're sitting in an overall position and you're trying to build confidence, you just want to make good decisions out there. You can just bet Roger's keeping his fingers crossed, going, don't make any bad moves. Don't do anything stupid. You're finally going to win one. Don't throw it away.
Look at the gap that Albertine has now opened up over Morocco.
A little sideways right there. It's funny to watch Albertine. He'll do a lot of things good, and then, oh,
he comes right off the saddle. Lost the grip with his left hand and was just pitched off the back of the bike in a rut.
I was just about to say, you'll watch him and you'll think everything's looking pretty good, and all of a sudden, he's out of shape. His left foot slipped off the foot peg. That's the foot, that's like the downhill ski. You want to weight that peg. Once it slipped off, he was totally out of shape. Watches another look at it. Gets into the berm, everything's looking good. He grabs a handful of throttle way too soon. And the bike just squirted right out from underneath him. There was no way he could hang on to that once he lost that left leg. That's the leg you use to grip the side of the bike. Hold your body up with the bike. He just gassed it too soon.
The handlebar took a wrenching in the right front. And of course, is the brake. Jeff Emig in second place behind Jeremy Mcgrath.
Well, he'll get a pit board here pretty soon as he comes around the next half a lap or so. It's going to tell him Albertine just crashed. Now he's in an overall position.
Jeremy Mcgrath.
A disappointing fifth in the first moto, and looked like it was going to be more of the same here in this moto when he dropped out of the lead and all the way back to about fourth place. Picked it back up. He's in the lead now, and looks like he's not going to lose too many points here on the day.
Taking big jumps over those whoops. That's the Jeremy Mcgrath we're used to seeing. In complete command, very acrobatic. All in all, a terrific rider. Right now, totally unpressed for the lead. In fact, I don't think we have any particular battles going on right now. The question is, where will everyone finish in the overall?
Well, he's just got to keep his fingers crossed that the cards fall in the right places and he can pick up the overall win. That'd be just about impossible with Morocco and Emig where they are. It's just about a three-way tie for the lead, but if things stay the way they are, it looks like Emig may pick it up. Emig, of course, beating Morocco in this moto. If he can stay there, they'll both have a second and a third, but Emig's better finish in the second moto will break that tie. They'll both only pick up a point on the day of Jeremy Mcgrath out of his points lead. So for Jeremy, having that bad first moto didn't turn out too bad in the end because he's going to win the second moto. And he's only going to lose a point in the championship. So not too bad. When you have a bad day to get away with it like that, then you can smile about it.
But he will see his streak of consecutive motos and consecutive overalls broken at 6 and 3, respectively. And interestingly, Jeff Emig is the man who ended his Supercross streak after 13 consecutive overalls. So Emig definitely a problem for Jeremy Mcgrath.
Henry really starting to work on Morocco now. Real impressed. I'm inspired by what I see from Henry because it looks like in his title he could become a factor. If he starts riding well like this, we've seen him go fast and win. The only thing that frightens me is Budds Creek is the next round. And that's where his problems began with that back injury. So if we can get through that one safe, it could be a good year for Doug in the outdoors.
Well, with no one behind him but a lapped rider, little twist of the front wheel for the fans. To the checkered flag comes Jeremy Mcgrath. You heard him say earlier, you have to put together two good motos at Mount Morris. He wasn't able to do it, but he looks back to see if Jeff Emig is second. Emig is, and with it, he takes the overall victory. Let's get down to the winner's circle. Davey Coombs with Jeremy.
Big difference from the first moto and the second moto. You were on fire that time.
Yeah, first moto, I just wasn't motivated. You know, we've been racing 14 weeks in a row, and you know, I just went out there and guys were passing me and I just was kind of letting them. I don't know, I mean, they got by me and I didn't do nothing about it, but second moto I wanted to go away with, you know, knowing that, you know, I still have the confidence and I'm out there and my bike's working good before we go on the 2-week break.
Yeah, you said last year that whenever you won the second moto here at High Point, it was kind of your breakthrough win as far as the 250 class goes, even though you had won an overall before that. But now you really don't need that kind of momentum going. When you get the win here at High Point in the second moto, how do you feel about the rest of the series now?
Well, I've been tough throughout the first 3 races, and Mount Morris, I struggled a little bit first moto, but I love it here, you know. I'm happy to take the second moto win and not lose too many points to pro.
And vacation time?
It's time.
Pastime for some of these riders, one of whom said, I don't want to see another motorcycle for 8 days. For Jeff Emig, the overall victory, Davy's with it.
You were right after the first moto. It's always lopsided here at High Point.
Yeah, that it is. You know, me and Mcgrath and LaRocco had a good, real good race. As people can see, LaRocco gave me a little love tap there, and and that was kind of like a wake-up call. And I know that I rode a lot harder after they passed me. I was riding a little bit conservative, at first, and I got to see some of their lines that they were taking that were, that were definitely faster than what I was taking at the beginning.
High Point's really the kickoff for the rest of the summer and the rest of the Outdoor National Series. You got 8 races to go, or maybe 9. How do you feel about the title now that you've beaten Mcgrath straight up?
Well, he's riding real strong. There's nothing, you can't take nothing away from him there. But we got the Kawasaki working good, and and everything else is starting to come together. And we get a little break after this, but then I'll be back, riding real hard in the, at the end of the series, because I definitely would like to win this 250 National Championship.
Congratulations on today's win.
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to thank all the fans and stuff, and Thor Racing, Scott Goggles, Shoei helmets, Alpine Star boots, Arnett sunglasses, S&P clothes, and all of the other sponsors, Bridgestone tires. Those guys are doing a great job for us.
Yeah, what about your mechanic?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to thank him too. This is J-Bone. He's the best.
All right, Jeff Emig avoiding a finish line faux pas there. Here's a look at the standings after 4 events. Jeremy Mcgrath leads the championship handily over Jeff Emig with a long summer of racing still to come. Final thoughts on the day, David?
Well, I'm excited to see how good LaRocco's starting to ride. He's becoming a threat for the title. Also, Greg Albertine picking up that moto win. He made a mistake in the second moto. I think he'll learn from that, and I'm inspired by Doug Henry. He's consistent here today. He was fast, starting to ride like he was before he got hurt, and that's good news for the rest of this series.
And we'll be following the series all the way to the season finale. We hope you'll be with us. Our next stop will be Budds Creek, Maryland. Hope you'll join us for that. Our thanks to Davy Coombs working in the pits for us today. I'm Bob Varsha for David Bailey. Thanks for being with us on a great day in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania. So long from High Point Raceway.